Shoreline Hometown Credit Union.
Okay, everybody, so welcome back to Marketing Field Study and our last guest speaker session of the semester. I'm really happy to welcome today Kyle, Tyler, and Steve from Shoreline Credit Union, and they're going to talk us through their rebranding process and how they kind of rejuvenated their marketing efforts for Shoreline Credit Union. So I know when I talk, the camera looks at me, so if you guys start talking and kind of introduce yourselves, that would probably be great.
Okay, my name is Steve Cantor. I'm the Vice President of, I guess it's Hometown Experience and Branding.
I'm Kyle Brenneson. I'm the Hometown Business Development Officer here at Shoreline.
I'm Tyler Freitag, and I'm the Marketing Specialist here at Shoreline.
And Tyler is a graduate of LTC.
Yes.
That's right.
2017.
Yeah.
Way smarter than us.
Yeah, way smarter.
That's awesome. Well, welcome, guys. We're really looking forward to hearing the presentation that you guys have prepared for us and walking us through sort of this journey that you've been on with rebranding or and remarketing Shoreline Credit Union over the last few years.
Okay, so Shoreline Hometown Credit Union, this is a case study about how rebranding helped rejuvenate a small credit union, a small hometown credit union. Next slide. In 2013, a new management group came into Shoreline Credit Union, and I'm not going to get into why a new management team was coming into Shoreline Credit Union, but things weren't going so well. Even though the credit union was well capitalized, there were some problems, brand problems and marketing problems that occurred that kind of put the credit union in a little bit of danger. But the fun thing about all of this was that even though there were some problems, it was a solid financial institution, and it was kind of a fun thing for a new team to get together to try to fix it, which is exactly what we did, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But we had some really serious branding problems prior to 2015. Social media, we had a Facebook page, but it wasn't used that often. We had too many logos and too many different colors. We had no consistent branding or customer experience. I will show some pictures in the next slide of what we were up against. There was no cohesion between management, the members of the credit union, or the employees as to exactly what the brand was or what the member experience was going to be. If you think about it, when I say member, credit unions are different than banks because each member owns part of the credit union.
Right.
So we didn't have much employee buy-in. We had no differentiation from other financial institutions, no real reputation in the community, no positive PR in the community. We didn't sponsor much of anything. And because of this, we were facing inadequate loan performance and dwindling membership and poor profitability. So the next slide will show, you look at the use of type and you look at our busy logo and all the colors, it just looks like, it didn't look very professional. And if you look at our logo, it was pretty, how do I put it? There's like 3 different typefaces going on in our logo.
Yeah.
In such a way, and too many colors. And it wasn't consistent. If you look at that newsletter on the top, on the bottom there, the Shoreline logo, they like used every single trick there was in Photoshop all the time on everything. So it just looked awful. Like, I mean, they got like a shadow.
We got a glow. We got,
yeah. I mean, the margins, everything was a mess. And then if you look at a picture of our branch, it looks like a garage sale. They like, because it was Shoreline, they had like, up here. They had like nets hanging on the walls and pictures of sailboats. And
I think I've seen something similar on like Kitchen Nightmares. Quick question, which one of the students actually had asked was, if you could talk more about this. So at that time when that new management group came on board, did this become like a top-down marketing initiative, or was, were these problems already identified and now you had some buy-in from some executives to be able to make some changes? How did that go? Or did they say, hey, we gotta fix this?
They had talked to a number of different people from the outside to try to, they knew they needed a marketing manager. They had the CFO that came in here. They had him doing some marketing, but he really didn't want to do it, and they needed a marketing person really bad. So they had talked to somebody who was working for a printing company, and this person knew me and had mentioned my name. So there was no real, I guess, buy-in except that something had to be done, and they didn't know what it was going to be. They hired an experienced marketing manager, which was me. I had previously had marketing experience in industry, starting off at Kohler Company when I got out of college at Lakeland, and then later on in the packaging machinery business. Then for the past 15 years, banking. I just kind of landed in banking because my job ended one day and I got hired at the bank, and I got a job. But over the 10 years I was working at a bank, I learned a lot about banking, and marketing is marketing. It doesn't matter what product you're marketing, and marketing communications especially. All kind of the same thing. So I was a guy that could create marketing materials in-house. I knew Photoshop, I knew InDesign, I knew basic Illustrator, I knew project management. And these are the things that they wanted to do, because we had no money really for marketing. So the first thing we did was we redid the logo. So we designed a logo and we chose a brand color, which was this blue that you see up on the screen. So that was the first thing that we did, was change the logo to make it easier to read, turn that R around on Shoreline, and then pick a color and just stick with that color instead of using multiple colors. So what I did then was I redesigned all the branch merchandising and all the collateral, which would be literature, and we provided branded clothing for all the employees. And then we went into the branches, and it wasn't very popular at the time. It made them throw all their teddy bears away and threw out all their merchandising and started creating our own customized merchandise. And also on the screens, creating, at the time was PowerPoint presentations, advertising specific products rather than just having a bunch of generic stuff up on the wall. So that was one of the first things that we did. And then we redesigned our antiquated website, and which caused some problems with some of our older members who said, why did you change the website? And I said, make it easier to read. And they said that I failed. And one lady said that she was going to reach out and strangle me if she could through the phone. But for the most part, people accepted it after a while. And the next slide will show what our first attempt was on that too. You can kind of see.
Change is hard for everybody.
Yeah, so you can see on the left there, you can see the website was a big improvement. It was professionally designed, and we used colors that were complementary to go back. So we did that. We did all that within the first 3 months, and then we identified really who we were trying to reach, which were blue-collar people in Manitowoc, because it's an industrial town. And that's when we came up with the hometown idea. And in fact, that was our CFO, who's now our CEO's idea. And he wanted to, say, well, that we're a local institution that cares about our hometown. Well, that's better said than done, because our reputation wasn't so good at the time. We had to build upon that and try to get people to get used to the fact that Shoreline was rebranding and was a different place. So we did things that they never did here before. A marketing plan, and media plan, and leveraging social media, different marketing channels. We experimented with everything: TV, digital, print, radio, and social media. We invested in a new core operating system that had some of the best online and mobile banking available at a credit union, up to par with large banks. And then we expanded our community partnerships with the Salvation Army at Two Rivers Main Street in Kiwanis. I will talk more on that later about how important it is in your branding efforts to know your community and sponsor things in your community. So we expanded our sponsorships to include the Kiwanis Car Show. I joined Kiwanis. I joined the Two Rivers Main Street. I joined the Business Association. I got involved with Subfest when it first started. So we were starting to just go out into the community and start to do things to promote our brand. Plus, we had to start a relationship with local media to tell the Shoreline story, which is something they never really did. So
you're talking about media opportunities and PR for that?
Yeah, we started to build relationships with like C. Hafer, especially C. Hafer News, and the Herald Times at the time, to try to get people, to listen to what we were trying to do. It was very difficult at first, of course, because no one's going to believe you that all of a sudden overnight you're this wonderful. So we started a branded billboard campaign to reintroduce Shoreline to Manitowoc County. And we also redid the membership newsletter and started doing that.
Yeah, good example of that here.
Yeah, so there was no communication between employees and management as to what our brand was. So we created a intranet page. And right after that, we redid our website so that we could communicate with the employees and try to get them to buy into the brand. The other thing we did was we created a real comprehensive annual report that the members could see what we were doing that first year that we were rebuilding our brand. And we continued to do that annual report every year. And it was a very professional, multi-page, filled with marketing propaganda, that we came up with to, get the members to understand what we were doing, as well as the employees. So on the other two things on this slide kind of show what we did at Subfest. I had an antique radio display at Subfest for a couple of years there, and that was sponsored by Shoreline. And then the car shows, which really kind of hit our demographic, because most blue-collar people and the people that we're going after, they like old cars, they like hot rods, they like all that stuff. So we concentrated a lot of our efforts at the time in car shows.
Cool. Very cool. So was that annual report in your newsletter, were those print products or digital products or both?
They were print and digital products. The newsletter was print at first and digital. We would put that up on Facebook, with a link to the website, and we had them laying around in the branches too for the older folks that didn't want to go online. So the newsletter and the annual report were print products, but they were also digital products.
Sure.
So the other thing,
see what you did there.
Yeah.
News anchor, got it.
Right.
Yeah. So we started doing like more radio advertising to begin with too. They hadn't done that in a while, and we started doing some digital advertising. You can see some of our digital ads up there. And we did some print, especially for the Hispanic market. We were hitting the Hispanic market pretty hard, and we've been very successful hitting that market.
It's really important.
With our bilingual Tomas Salinas, the king of credit, we called him. And then if you look at the middle slide there, picture, we did a temporary remodel on the Michigan Road branch that had all the nets and things hanging there, and we just kind of put Shoreline on the top, painted everything real nice, and just cleaned it up. It was kind of a low budget way of doing it, but it looked a lot cleaner in that particular branch. And you can also see at the bottom some of our brochures, our clothing, and some more digital advertising.
Which was a big deal. I mean, even you can see all three of us are wearing branded logoed items that
Sure.
it tells your story and who you are. And, but anytime I'm out in the community, and sometimes even after work and still wearing my Shoreline jacket or whatever, you get those questions. So, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
And it's simple, but it's something to think about for sure.
And it gets everybody, we had a little struggle at first. A lot of people didn't want to do it, but you said, no, you're putting this shirt on. You're going to learn to love it.
They do it at McDonald's, right?
So then, after a while, people got used to it, and they
So Kyle, if you're wearing something else and you see Steve at the grocery store, do you just start walking the other way?
Yeah, right. Bye.
Like, I'm going to put a shirt on today.
But we had our 75th anniversary. Now we're 80 years, but we did kind of a big splash that year, and we started doing quite a bit of digital advertising. And we can touch on that later about some of the results and not so good results, and it depends upon I guess the market. With Tyler, and we'll probably touch on that a little bit later.
Tyler and I still don't exist as the story is being told.
Right.
Exactly. Tyler and Kyle weren't here. It was
Yes.
just me. So that got to be to the point where we started thinking, well, geez, Steve, you're getting to be an old guy. We need to have some succession planning. We better get some people in here. So anyway, we hired this young marketing professional who recently graduated from LTC. First, he was hired as a teller. He worked there, and he wanted my job right away. I could tell. But he, we hired him with the idea that he was going to, learn how to do things. And as it turned out, he learned how to do more than we ever thought he was going to learn. And then we hired a business development officer, Kyle, with prior business development experience. And I met Kyle through the Salvation Army, which is another thing we kind of touch on a little bit later, how you network with people in your life and business, and you never know who you're going to run into, who you might be working with down the road. But being in business, especially in marketing, developing relationships with many people is like a real big part of marketing.
It's invaluable, really.
Yes. And that goes for business out, getting business for your business, or buy-in from employees, because everybody's got to be associated with the brand, and everybody has to understand what the brand is in order to be successful.
Just a really quick question. If you guys could elaborate, Kyle, could you talk to my marketing students and tell them a little bit more about what a business development officer would do and what your previous experience had been?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I don't know that I fit the general box of business development. A lot of business development officers or directors are out grabbing loans for our businesses, right? Those kinds of things, at least in the financial field. But really, it's relational for me. And the way I fit into the marketing team is kind of because I knew Steve ahead of time. But really, without the marketing department, I couldn't do my job effectively.
Right.
Without that sole brand and people actually recognizing Shoreline, it's really hard to just walk into a place cold. Let me back up a little bit and answer the rest of the question. I did business development for Salvation Army, which in that world, it was fundraising.
Sure.
So connecting those relationships, the people together that have a heart for the organization, as well as helping people in need to get into their wallet and have them donate to the nonprofits in the area, the Salvation Army specifically. But I had made the connection with Shoreline actually right about the same time, that 2015 mark.
He was the first person I saw when I started.
Which is really funny, but that's true.
Yeah.
Right. I had really good timing coming to knock on the door here.
Wow.
He was the first person. They go, some Salvation Army guys coming in here, and we do this PIN program with them. So you need to work with him to get that done. And that was Kyle.
Yes. Yeah, which actually I show up on the cover of that first Shoreline annual report because they donated over $10,000 to Salvation Army through the relationship that I was able to create in that former role. And speaking to Steve's comment about the relationships you create, you never know. I mean, who you're going to meet in your job that will elevate your career to the next level. I had and still have a true passion for what the Salvation Army does and its impact in the community. Couldn't ask people to donate money if I didn't. But that opened the door here as well. And as you can imagine, a financial institution does pay a little better than a nonprofit. So it's been a great move and a ton of fun.
Also, Kyle, could you talk a little bit about what you did initially with the home program, the rewards program?
You guys want to turn your camera on, like stop sharing this for a second so we can see you?
Yeah, great, good call. So the initial reason I was hired on was to initiate and facilitate what we call now our hometown program. The gist of it is it's a rewards credit card program where we reward our members specifically for shopping at hometown businesses.
Oh, cool.
It's a great program. We do that by offering double rewards when they shop local. So the back end's a little goofy. We have to do it all manually because nobody in the country does anything like this. Right. So
wow.
Yeah, we got some nerds here. They got big spreadsheets and they figure it out. So, so I went out into the community and started soliciting businesses to join this hometown program. It was kind of a no-brainer because I was just asking our members to shop at their place and not charging the business anything to become part of it.
Right.
What we got out of it was putting our logo in the window of each business, as well as some solicitation flyers inside each business talking about Shoreline, our mission, what we've got going on, our hometown program. So that brand recognition really ticked up at that point too. That was in 2017, and at this point we've got 125 small locally owned businesses part of that program. So yeah, and again, on the marketing front, it's us putting our logo in each one of those businesses. I mean,
sure.
Well, and building relationships,
the small businesses now feel like, hey, Shoreline's great. Maybe we'll switch our home banking to them. Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. And I didn't have any idea of the reputation Shoreline had in the community prior to starting here, but found out quickly as I started knocking on doors. The people were pretty open to share with me some of their feelings of Shoreline, and some of that was very legit concerns and complaints, but really we've been able to not only get over those things, but also change that perception.
Call that qualitative research. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of that perception changed throughout the years. As it turned out, Kyle's the president of the Noon Rotary. Tyler's involved with Kiwanis and the Crossing. I'm the president of Kiwanis. Once you're starting to go in the Two Rivers Business Association, once you're out there talking with other businesses and they see what you're doing, as far as all of the events that we did, like the Kiwanis of Manitowoc Car Show, got involved with the Cool City Car Show again, and Ethnic Fest and all these things. And we were out on the street, which one of these bullets on here is about starting an internal employee street team, employee buy-in on a hometown brand. And those meetings that we have with employees gets everybody involved in what we're doing to try to promote the credit union. So we encourage employee participation in community events. We leverage social media to drive traffic to the website. And Tyler and I'm going to let him talk a little bit about that too, probably in the next slide, about the things that we've done with social media and also the internet that he created, way better than the Joomla one that I made. That was terrible. And other things that we've done. So anyway, go to the next slide.
Tyler, did you want to talk a little bit about your story as far as graduating from LTC and then how you kind of came
Yeah,
into
that
this?
would be good. That would be good. Yeah.
Yep. So I graduated in 2017 from the marketing program. And at that time, I had applied for a job as a teller at Shoreline, not knowing anything about the credit union industry or what it would do for my career. So I got that job as a part-time teller, working 20 hours a week. And then I eventually met Steve. And when I met Steve, I shared with him the marketing plan that I created at Integrated Web Concepts at LTC. Yep.
Shout out.
That was the first thing we really went over that showed that I kind of had a little bit of idea about marketing. And so then Steve offered me a job in the marketing department. And from there, my big role in the beginning was just solidify the use of that hometown logo. Because if you change it in one place, you have to change it everywhere. And in financial, that includes letterheads, loan documents, I mean, social media, everywhere. There's way more places than you'd ever think. Yeah. And it's crazy. So then after that, we solidified it on social media, making sure all of our graphics were the correct size. A lot of small businesses will try and throw like an 8.5 by 11 picture on there, and it just doesn't fit. So that was some research I had to do too, just to make sure that we were doing the most professional job that we could do on social media, because it matters. As you're talking about branding and perception in the community, we need to look as professional as we can, so that way that's not a complaint. So Steve mentioned the intranet. I worked with our web design company to redesign that, and they just took care of creating the shell of that, like the hard coding. And then I went in and did all of the copy and the pictures and the structure and all that stuff, which it was a lot of fun. It was a big job, but it was just a lot of fun.
And it prepared him for doing the second revamp of the website, which he was in charge of doing also.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. You had kind of a little starter project to kind of ease your way in and kind of replicate that later. That's pretty cool.
Well, and then I think the opportunity Tyler's had, and I had the same type of opportunity when I got into marketing communications. You get yourself into a place where you get to learn everything. And you try to be a jack of all trades, maybe not the master of none, but you get your fingers stuck in everything. Whether it's project management, whether it's video, which he's done very well with, and writing and putting it together, putting the documents together, everything, the whole print management, project management, and he's done a phenomenal job with that in the 4 years he's been here.
4 years.
Yeah. So, that's something you can always think of when you're looking for your first job in marketing is, you can get pigeonholed as a graphic artist. I'm not saying that's bad if that's all you want to do, or pigeonholed as a copywriter if that's what you want to do. But if you find a place where you get some broad experience, you're always better off in the end, as far as your career.
And it's important for me to say too that when I left LTC, I had no idea what the Adobe suite was. I didn't know anything about Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator. I knew nothing about it until I met Steve. So that was a really cool opportunity for me to kind of get my feet wet and then just learn more and more about what all the crazy things you can do with that suite.
Yeah.
Because he had like a blank slate of a mind, so you could you could fill it up with all kinds of things, and it was just amazing to me, I never ran into that in my life, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And just a note for my marketing students, if you're interested in learning more about like the Adobe Creative Suite, our graphic and web program added a certificate where it's just, just the Adobe Suite. So it's not everything else in the entire program, but it's just those kind of core classes. And it's a really great add-on opportunity for our marketing and digital marketing students. And I'm sure Tyler would agree to that. It'd be nice to have just kind of some basics to get you going. And because I think the first time you open Illustrator, you're like, what am I looking at even? Like, what even is that?
I closed out of it right away.
Yeah. We're not big Illustrator. We're not the best at Illustrator around here. We're pretty good at the rest of it, but Illustrator is a tough one.
I can't tell you how many times needing whatever piece of marketing material, and Tyler and I would sit in his office and be working on this Illustrator or the Adobe Suite program would probably be beneficial to all of you because of this. But I would say to Tyler, can't we, not knowing anything about it myself, but assuming we could figure it out, right? Yep. And he would say, I don't know, let's Google it. So whatever it was, can't you drop shadow this or do that or change this?
Sure.
So yeah. And if a marketing role like something along Tyler's line, that class would be beneficial.
And there are a lot of jobs out there, that you can find where you can get your fingers in everything, and you're far better off starting off that way than getting pigeonholed.
I agree. And I think a lot of those opportunities, Steve, it's important to point out, are with smaller local businesses. Instead of your Kohlers or your Mercury Marines or something like that, those are the kind of places where you get hired for one specific role.
Right. And when I got out of college, I went to Kohler. I had an internship there, and I was a technical writer for a number of years, and I had a writing degree and a art degree. But I was kind of pigeonholed as a technical writer, but I weaseled my way into the advertising department and broadened my skills there. And then from there, I went to a smaller company where I learned how to do everything that you could possibly do. This is when Tyler was coming in. So we did some more digital advertising, as you can see up on the upper left. And we were experimenting with different places, different vendors. We were trying to move into the Green Bay market, so we were doing a lot of mobile advertising, and we were doing some of that here in Manitowoc with mixed results. Tyler can play to that later. But you can see some ads. You can see Tyler started putting in we had a brand structure on everything, but we gave Tyler some room to change things, to make things look better, which he's been doing. And then he also started doing video, which was another thing. I mean, he just right away figured that out, and we were shooting video and putting stuff together that looked like, it was professional. And at the end of this presentation, you'll see one of Tyler's videos.
Cool. I like the old truck to new truck makeover there.
Yeah, that was something that I made.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take credit for that.
Oh, God.
Okay, here's some more of Tyler's work. There's some internal employee stuff and different. You can explain those things, Tyler.
Yeah. And the most important thing with all the pictures on this slide is that the logo is the same in every single one. And when I first started, there was just we still had a different sub logo. You'll notice now that we have the Shoreline Hometown Credit Union logo with the city. But then in the bottom right of the PowerPoint, we removed the cityscape because that fits better in those horizontal logo places. And that way, just no matter what size logo we need, it's that same feel. It's the hometown logo. It's not just the Shoreline. But yeah, as Steve said, when we do like our internal events, we send out invites and save the dates, and it's really employee engagement, because if your employees are engaged, they'll help the marketing department more than any paid marketing thing will. I mean, the power of their voice is way more powerful than digital marketing or things like that. So just being able to interact with them and getting them on board with what we're doing is so important.
And as you can see, there's a picture of the branch torn up again. We had remodeled it slightly, but then we decided we wanted that branch to look like the Manitowoc branch and unify the outsides of the buildings so that they looked the same, similar in architectural style. And then the inside, we did a tribute to Hamilton Manufacturing. You'll see some more of that later, to make the inside of the place look more like a factory, because the many of our Mishicot Road members worked at Hamilton, and and so it was more for them that when they came in there, that it was a tribute to the place that they used to work.
Now, and just to touch on what Tyler said there too, and I don't have a marketing degree. I don't pretend to have a marketing degree, but I do know that word of mouth advertising, getting employee buy-in on what you're doing in advertising and promotions is invaluable. I mean, I'm sure there's statistics that say it's still the best over digital or whatever it might be, but keeping the people talking about your brand,
especially in a small town like Manitowoc. Because Manitowoc is a rather provincial place. And, I mean, some of the things that we're talking about today, work in a smaller town. They might not work in Chicago or New York or someplace like that. But most people, you know, that live around here or that are graduating, I'm guessing from LTC, I know even Lakeland University, a lot of those people stick around here, you know, UW, Green Bay, any of them. You know, they stick around in Northeast Wisconsin because it's a nice place to live. Well, the one thing about Northeast Wisconsin is that your reputation is really important because everybody knows everybody in like a 9-county area. So these were the things that we were facing as a credit union, and how we had to change our brand and get the buy-in of the employees, get the buy-in of our members, to get people enthusiastic about the credit union, because you're selling a commodity. You're selling checking. You're selling, you know, I mean, you're selling a commodity. You know, you have to differentiate yourself, especially as a member of the community and as a caring part of the community.
And a student had a question about that, about differentiation. So I'm glad you touched on that. We talked about that quite a bit with Mike as well. So I just wanted to go back to what you talked about with employee buy-in. Did you have like a standardized program other than the intranet that you had and the employee newsletter information and the annual report that you put out? Did you have like some training initiatives then that you undertook to, you know, get your partners and everybody working at the credit unions understanding the products better and, you know, upselling things maybe? Or I don't know, that's kind of a bad word, but to be able to talk through those features and benefits.
And we certainly did all of those things, actually. Town hall meetings and all staff meetings where we touch base on all the different products and everything going through beginning to end, from a checking account to an IRA, you know, and benefits for members that way, while being consistent in our brand and our hometown brand. But yeah.
Tyler could touch on the playbooks for campaigns for the employees.
Yep. So we actually, before we launch a new campaign now, we try to schedule a marketing training like 2 weeks before the new campaign or new product will launch. And one of the things I created was just a PowerPoint playbook to share with the staff too, that's available on the internet. And that just gives an overview of what artwork we'll be using, what the campaign is targeting, and who we're targeting, and just the information that they can always go back to and look at and make sure that they're comfortable with the campaign. We also do like little trigger terms that we have a document for, where if someone's talking about their car accident that they had over the weekend, well, maybe you can get them in for a car loan or things like that, just to assist them in the sales techniques as well.
That's awesome. Those sales enablement tools are such a, I don't know, I feel like it's an overlooked part of marketing, is kind of that relationship with sales. You know, in some organizations that's very siloed, but I think the best organizations really integrate those two things and make the sales job easier. Like, that's what you're supposed to be doing, right? So that's awesome. That's music to my ears.
Yeah. Well, and I know we talked about a little bit from earlier about it being top down. All of this is from the executive level down to, you know, entry level employees, and we've changed the culture, and we're trying to hire on culture as well.
Yeah.
And seeing that helps is also, you know, hiring the right people on here. So
yeah. Hey, now I'm gonna put Tyler in charge of this one, because he's the guy that created these videos to be used on social media, TV, merchandising, website, and that has been a really big part. So I'm gonna let him talk about that and everything else that's on this slide.
Yeah, so up until 2019, it was really that solidifying the brand and solidifying the logo and making sure everyone saw that professional brand. And then in 2019, we sat down and we thought, well, we really need something that will differentiate us on TV, like Steve said, or on Facebook. So I learned Adobe Premiere, just self-taught with YouTube and their different tutorials, which was fun. Yeah. But it allowed us to start creating those videos, and we used different programs like Motion Array for stock video clips, Adobe stock photos and videos, and just
shot our own.
Yep, and shot our own too, and mixed all those together to come out with 30-second or 1-minute commercials that really showed who we are as a financial and as a brand. And I think that really sets us apart, especially from other small institutions
that don't have that capability.
Yeah. Sure.
And then we came out with a big data team as well. This was the CEO's idea. So we work with the accounting and the numbers guys, and we learn about who we want to target, and they pull the reports for us, or they pull the email lists of this specific demographics, and then we target them. And targeting smaller groups usually works better instead of just the big blasting to all of our 8,000 members. It really helps us break it down.
Can you say an example of a segment that you would target in on?
Yep. So as Steve said, our big crowd is the blue collar market. So big data, we would say, well, if we're running this auto promotion, let's target 25 to 45-year-olds that are about to pay off their auto loan in the next 6 months to a year. And then, excuse me, we would send them an email about our new loan promotion that's going to be starting to try and get them to, if they get a new vehicle, to come back with us. And I mean, we do a wide variety with credit cards and just mortgage loans and everything that we can offer to our members. We're breaking those down.
The more we can target it, the better the result.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, so also one of the fun ideas I had was starting social media contests, like share, and comment contests for the credit union, just because our social media following wasn't very large. I think when Steve and I started together, it was like 700.
It was like 400 when I got here, and then it was up to, I think, close to, about 800 when Tyler got here.
So then we started doing these contests, encouraging people, to like our Facebook page, and they could win $50 in hometown gift certificates from Kyle's hometown program, any of the local businesses. And we saw our Facebook presence and likes and follows blow up. I think today we're at 2,500 with them, because then that's just more people seeing our messaging and seeing our promotions and things like that.
Yeah.
And then we already touched on creating the professional, consistent graphics for social media, but yeah, again, just stressing how important that is, because you might not think it matters a lot, but if we put up something completely random and different, I bet you a lot of people would notice. So it's really just important. We've partnered with Sea Hafer News and other local medias to sponsor different events and different contests. Like they do a ham at Easter time and a turkey at Thanksgiving, and just those partnerships are really popular here in Manitowoc for our brand awareness as well.
Yeah, even our text. We did a text line through Sea Hafer Broadcasting,
which is pretty popular. It's amazing to me in this town, because there's no TV station here, that WMT is like, tens of thousands of people listen to it every day.
Yeah.
And that's unusual, because in larger areas that probably doesn't happen, or in certain towns.
Yeah, we had Steve Scouten come into this class earlier this week from Midwest Communications, so more the Sheboygan side of things. And we were, he had shared similar statistics for Sheboygan County. Radio is still a thing for sure. It's got to be the right fit with your brand, but
it does
be really helpful.
The radio is big because it's a captive audience. You really can't change it. It's like you turn on the radio in the car and it's on.
Yeah, but don't minimize any of those channels. See what works best for you.
We do digital billboard, we do TV. Events in Manitowoc County is really huge for us. The events and that's the cheapest marketing channel we have, because you're doing $1,500 sponsorships or whatever. As long as you have people on the ground and boots on the ground, you can do a good job promoting your business. So there's a number of different things that we also do for the community. We do graphic arts for the community. Tyler does a lot of graphic arts for
the Crossing,
Salvation Army. We do Kiwanis Car Show. We've been doing a car show calendar that we shoot the pictures and we put it together. We do one for Cool City. We do another car show calendar for Cars and Guitars up in Green Bay as we expand into that market. So we do, if some nonprofit comes up to us and they say, like the Salvation Army, we need a poster, or we need a sign, or we need this, we make it for them.
You see the example of that Kiwanis calendar on the top right there on this slide here. So
yeah. So those are the for us that also helps us build our brand as a hometown credit union that cares about what's going on. On this slide, another thing you can note is you can see the outside of and the inside of the newly remodeled Mishicot Road branch, which was a real mess.
Hey, Mary, does my cursor show up? Can you see where I'm pointing here?
Yep.
All right, so that's where the nets were.
And then you can see there's a hometown logo on the front of the building, and in fact, we just finished our branding process last month when we finally got the hometown logos up on this building in Manitowoc. So,
Cool.
we also, another big thing that we do that was sponsored, that Sea Hafer News app. Now, as we know, newspapers have kind of died out, like the Herald Times Reporter. I mean, they don't have the circulation, especially among younger people. So they have been promoting this app, which is a news app Sea Hafer has, which I don't know how many people are on it now, but it's in the thousands. And we are the main sponsor for that. So every time you click on that app, our name comes up.
Cool.
So that was good.
Yeah.
That was well spent marketing dollars in Manitowoc. So, you have anything you want to add?
I think we're good on that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here's some other things to show you what we've done to put ourselves into the community brand-wise. If you look at the top left slide, that's on a glass. That's a conference room on a glass wall, and we made a mural, designed a mural that shows a submarine history, the shipbuilding history of Manitowoc. And so when people come in, they can, see the kind of the history of the maritime in Manitowoc. The one below it's in Mishicot Road, we went to the Hamilton Wood Type Museum, and we did some research and took some pictures, and we made the mural part of it, the box part of it, look like a type box.
Yeah.
And we put all the various little pictures in there of the history of Hamilton manufacturing.
Isn't that the coolest place ever? So
That's awesome place.
It's in the
Yes.
graphic design program too. So we go on a field trip there every year. It's just awesome.
Yeah. So they assisted us in creating that mural, and it's in the branch. So it's just a matter of pride. You can see the ribbon cutting up there in that branch. But we take a lot of pride in the fact that we've unified, both locations, and considering the size of our operation, we feel that we're just as professional as any other financial institution. You can also see that we were voted best financial on the Lakeshore last year in all categories.
Awesome.
You would have said 5 years ago, 6 years ago that was going to happen, people would have laughed.
Right.
We were voted best. And I would imagine a lot of that has to do with the people we've hired and the experiences people have coming in here. But also, I really believe that it's the marketing that we've been doing and the boots on the ground that we've been doing that made us recognizable.
We're all pretty proud of that. Yeah, that culmination of being real low and getting some recognition locally. It's great.
Yeah. So, and this is our newest website, and Tyler also has a lot to do with this. The shell was built, and Tyler went to town, and it's a beautiful website.
It was a really good learning experience for me as well. Like Steve said, we asked them, well, if you guys just do the shell, first off, can we save some money? But then second of all, that just gave me the chance to go in and do everything, all of the menu structures, which I had never done before, all of the sub menus, the buttons, the banners, just everything. It was a really rewarding experience for me as well, just because, like Steve said, a couple of years ago, I never would have thought that I would have been able to do that.
And plus, he's doing artwork and graphic design. He didn't have the slightest clue that he even had talent in that. That's all of a sudden I was looking. You've got talent in that. You should be doing this. So, I mean, it's great that he's had these opportunities to do these things. I mean, it's made him grow in his career quite a bit.
Hey, Mary, I know you said you had your students go through the website and kind of formulate some questions prior. I guess first off, are there anything specific to the website?
I don't think that we had any website specific ones. I did have a question about social media. That was, what are the challenges with being a credit union and using social media platforms to market your services? And I think maybe the student was referring to like compliance issues and things like that.
So one of the big challenges that so originally when I started, I was putting all of the disclosures right on the Facebook post, right, which got real messy and real long. So I actually sat in a compliance class for credit unions with our compliance officer. And if there's this thing called the one-click rule. So if I make a Facebook post and I put a link in there that links to the website where the more information is located, that's okay, that's compliant. So finding that out, this one-click rule has really been helpful for us, and it just makes our social media much cleaner and, yeah, much more fun to look at versus 3 paragraphs of small fine print that.
Some of that disclosure is terrible.
Yeah. And the other thing that's kind of funny, because if you look at other people's website or social media pages and they don't put a lot of fun stuff up there, if you like put up a loan promo or you're putting up, a mortgage promo, you're going to get a couple of clicks or you're going to get a couple of likes. The minute you put up something that's social, like whether it's an event or whether it's
cleaning up roadside garbage, one of our most liked photos. It's like,
yeah. I mean, there's some real viral ones out there. I'm trying to think of them, but they had nothing to do with what we're selling. But what we're selling is a commodity, right? So really, and that's where I think some people miss the boat when they're selling a commodity. Is you have to find a way to differentiate yourself to get people to come to your page and make it kind of fun. What was the biggest one we ever did? There was one. Some of them we don't even boost them.
Kite Festival.
Kite Festival. That's a big one. Or even when the car shows came back. There's people from all over the state looking at it. Because we sponsor a car show, and they couldn't even join the credit union if they wanted to. But we get a lot of traffic.
Very cool. So have there been any actual advertising campaigns that you've seen with a lot of ROI, or do you feel like most of your ROI is coming from the brand building and the connections that you're making in the community, or is it kind of a mixture?
Good question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So with big data, our big data team, we run ROI on a lot of our campaigns. And I think when we saw the most success was when we really sat down and figured out which channels were working and which ones were not. Because if you lower the expense, then it's easier to hit the ROI. So our auto loan campaigns are always really big. They bring in a lot of money for the credit union. That's kind of our bread and butter. And once we started just doing them on the radio and just doing them on social media, our ROI just blew up on those campaigns.
Because we were spending like a large amount of money on a digital program through WFRV, and it was web-based and it was mobile-based, right?
Yep.
And the results we were getting from that digital campaign, and I'm not saying that digital advertising is bad, but in our case, it was not cost-effective.
And was that display ads primarily?
Primarily, yes.
Yeah. So not search ads necessarily, but
search ads, geofencing.
We did geofencing.
A little bit of everything, actually, that just very little return on it. You got to figure out what works for you. Yeah. I wouldn't have bet on AM radio, but
the funny thing is, in Manitowoc County, as a financial institution, AM radio for us works the best, and that and that's probably goes against a lot of what students are learning. But
no, not at all. No, not at all. We've had good discussions in this class so far about, we had Steve on from West Communication and learn more about radio advertising. But again, it's are you the right brand for that? Does it make sense for the promotion that you're running and things like that? When you do social media advertising, Tyler, is it mostly Facebook, Instagram?
Mostly just Facebook. I had started an Instagram when I first started, and we couldn't get the traffic on there that really made it worth going in there and designing the post specifically for that. So yeah, Facebook's been our bread and butter with social media. But Facebook's also getting more strict from a marketing standpoint as well, because when I first started, if we boosted a post, it was just boosted for the dollar amount. Now we have to go under special ads of either credit, housing, or job. And if I post a thing of the car show and we try and boost it, they don't let it they typically don't let it go through. So those are the kind of struggles that we're adapting with, and we probably will continue to adapt with on social media as well.
Yeah, and from the time you started in this role till now, that big algorithm change with Facebook for pages has been a really big thing too. So students who are watching this, you might remember in social media class that we kind of talked about that was time was back in my day 5 years ago. You could, as a company that had followership, your organic content got served much greater frequency.
Oh, a ton more.
And now it's almost down to nothing. So you have to kind of get creative with, like you said, boosting those posts to try to get people to see your content, even in a lot of cases. Or like you said, do those clever, tag a friend or something like that, and then it gets into people's feeds that way.
2021 and beyond, as we touched on before, we were awarded the Best of the Lakeshore in all financial categories, which was very surprising. And we were also nominated 2 years in a row, 3 categories of the Chamber of Manitowoc. We've never won there, but at least our logo goes up on the screen now in front of hundreds of people. We've experienced, as a result of everything that's been going on here, to the management team's credit and to the employees' credit, as well as the marketing department's credit, record loan growth. And our profitability is improving, and we have cemented our reputation in the community with this consistent message. And our hometown brand has differentiated us from other institutions. We found our niche. The thing is, you can't be everything to everybody. You have to find a niche that you're good at doing and market the heck out of it. So this last one shows, this is our final branding we did on the building in Manitowoc. We had the old terrible logo that lit up at night that you couldn't see, but now we've got spotlights on the hometown logo, and
you can see there on the side of the building here and here.
And as time goes on, the Shoreline part of it is kind of going away, and people are starting to call it the Hometown Credit Union, which is exactly what we wanted. Yeah.
So this is maybe the final question that I have that was from a student that I think is really good, and maybe y'all can answer this individually, but probably mostly for you, Steve, since you've been part of this from the beginning. But now that everything is said and done, what has been the most rewarding aspect of the changes that were made for you personally?
I think personally for me, it's the recognition the credit union is getting in the community as a viable institution, I guess, that people think we're a great place to be and a great place to go. That is the biggest satisfaction for me. I don't know what.
No, that's well said. I had touched on it earlier with the perception in the area that I didn't even know existed, and then seeing that shift, it is very rewarding. Yeah.
And the other thing is too is I'm retiring next year. The other thing that has been very rewarding for me through all this is building a team with 2 other people and also the employees around here, and driving this forward and knowing that when the day comes that I walk out the door, it's going to keep going.
Yeah.
I was going to say Tyler and I was rewarding for.
Yeah. But I don't know, Tyler.
No, I think I feel the same as you, though, Steve. Just seeing when you have the right group of people together, what you can all accomplish, and what was done for Shoreline since Steve started, and watching it all just transpire when I started is just crazy.
Nobody else.
Yeah, it's like an everybody wins situation. And clearly you guys have a great rapport with each other. I think everybody watching this video is like, man, I'd really like to work on a team like this. You guys are just
we have so much fun, we can't stand it.
We all value it highly too.
Yes.
We know we're
very thankful.
It's good.
Very cool. Well, that's the last question I had. So I think we're all excited to watch Tyler's video.
Awesome.
Okay, this video is kind of a thank you. Tell them what the video is. This is that.
Yeah.
Tell them what it is.
So this year is our 80th anniversary. So back in March, we decided to create a video to just say thank you to our members and thank you to our community for letting us serve them for the last 80 years. And yeah.
I don't know.
Great messages. Well, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you, Mary.
We have fun.
Appreciate it.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Hometown values, hometown rewards.